She set a plate on the table without looking at me and said, "Don't wait up tonight." Like it was weather, not a decision that cut across our life. I watched her keep her hand on the phone as she sat. That wasn't new lately. She'd tap the screen with her thumb, turn it face down, then, buzz, flip it again. No smile. No eye contact. A performance of being busy. "Work again?" I asked, steady. "Yeah. Big deadline." She cut her chicken. "It's just a season." "If you say so." She pushed a bite around. "Can we not do this? I'm tired." If I'd known where that sentence was headed, I would have recorded it and used it as the soundtrack to what came next. Her name is Emily. I'm Mark. I run a small crew that renovates old houses on the west side. We do good work, finish on time, and I value two things: straight answers and a clean job site. Our home used to feel like that. Warm, simple, ours. She'd meet me at the door with a laugh and a story about a client who tried to pay in cookies. We'd eat late and talk until the stove clock hit midnight. Then something broke. No explanation, just a quiet that came with a lock. The first hint was how she started carrying her phone like a glass egg. Even in the shower, it sat on the sink wrapped in a towel. If it buzzed, she moved. If I asked, she blinked and said the same line. "It's fine. Nothing's wrong." "Looks wrong." "Then stop looking." Her sister Jenna began dropping by more. Jenna is the bright one, big laugh, always moving, the kind of person who turns a grocery run into a party. She'd grab 2 mugs, dig out tea, sit on the counter, and ask me about lumber prices like it was gossip. We've always gotten along. No gray area, no flirting. Just easy. But Emily would act like a hostess at an open house when Jenna came. Oversweet, too helpful, offering snacks like she needed a witness to how perfect our life was. Her eyes stayed watchful, careful. That smile was paint. "You don't have to hover," I told Emily once, rinsing a pan while Jenna told a story about her neighbor's dog. "We're fine." "I'm being nice," she said. "You like nice, right?" "I like real." Her mouth ticked. "Go back to your tools. I'll handle the kitchen." I let it go, but I saw it. The distance. The little jabs. The phone. The late nights that started to stack. One morning, she stirred her coffee and said without looking up, "I'll be late tonight." "Client dinner." "Who?" "Team from out of town." She slid her thumb over the phone. "Don't wait up. You said that yesterday. It's the season." A shrug. "You know how it is." "You'll text." "If I can." "I'll take that as a no," I said, but not loud. There's a time to push and a time to log the data. I was logging. That night she came home at 11:30, walked past me, went straight to the bathroom. When she took off her coat in the hall, I caught a smell that didn't come from any office, a mix of grill smoke and a bar. When she stepped back into the living room, I asked, "Dinner go late?" "Really? We're doing this." She picked at a thread on her sleeve. "It was work. Your jacket says otherwise." "My jacket doesn't talk." And here I was thinking we still did. She rolled her eyes and wandered into the kitchen. The sound of the fridge door opening was her final word. I didn't chase. I don't raise my voice and I don't beg. My job runs on plans and contingencies, and my marriage was about to get the same treatment. Early signs, then measures. That's how you keep a house from collapsing. The next day around noon, I texted, "Lunch near your office?" Her reply came fast, "Can't." No time to breathe. I was already parked on the street outside her building. 5 minutes later, she walked out smooth as Sunday, in a blazer she saves for meetings where people clap. She scanned the sidewalk like she was checking for a delivery, tapped her phone, and a cab slid up. She got in. No lunch. No time. Just a line to keep me away. I started my truck and followed, 2 cars back. I'm not proud of trailing, but I respect proof. A person's word is their contract. If the contract is smoke, you verify. The cab took a straight shot 10 blocks and stopped at a restaurant with a red awning. Emily stepped out and smoothed her hair. A man leaned against the brick by the door. He pushed off when he saw her and smiled like this wasn't their first scene together. She smiled back in a way I hadn't seen at home in months. Open, easy, like a lock had finally clicked. They talked. He laughed. She touched his sleeve. It was Jenna's husband, Kyle. I sat in my truck long enough for a meter made to check me twice. I wasn't watching a movie. It was my life, but with the wrong actors. Set aside every excuse I wanted to test. Work, coincidence, old friend. I know restaurants. You meet people there when you want a table and a corner. This was not about a vendor. They went in. I stayed. Anger isn't useful at first. It makes a mess you get to clean up alone. I needed a clean job site. Inside my head, a promise. Don't explode here. Don't make her story for her. Get facts, then set the plan. I called a guy I'd used once to check out a subcontractor who kept misplacing receipts. He isn't a movie character. He's a polite man with bad coffee who notices things and writes them down. Can you take a look at something personal? I asked. If you're asking me, it's already personal, he said. I'll be discreet. Good. I want clear documentation, and I want to stay quiet until I decide. Understood. I let Emily keep her show running. Dinners, late nights, big deadlines. We ate like roommates and talked like coworkers. She put her phone between us on the couch like a new pet. I kept my schedule, hit the gym early, moved some tools from the garage into my shop. One step at a time, and no noise. Jenna kept visiting. Once, she came by with a bag of oranges and asked, "You guys okay?" Emily's intense lately. We're fine. Emily called from the hall, too quickly. Work wave. Work never made you secretive, Jenna said, almost to herself. Emily flashed a public smile. Thanks for the fruit. A week passed. The investigator called. We should meet. Tonight. He slid a thick folder onto the table at a quiet diner. Photos, dates, times, and more than dinners. He didn't linger on that. He didn't need to. I opened it. I didn't need to read every page to get the point. It wasn't one lapse. It was a plan. Same places. Same pattern. My brother-in-law at the other end of it. I closed the folder and rested my hand on it like it was a blueprint for a house I wouldn't build. What now? He asked. Now I handle my side like a grown man. I drove home, put the folder in my desk, and took a long look at our kitchen. Her favorite cast iron skillet hung where I put it after Christmas. A calendar still had our summer trip penciled in. I took the calendar down and tossed it in the bin. That's not rage. That's update. I called a lawyer in the morning. He reviewed the documents with his glasses parked on the end of his nose and said, "Say nothing to her yet. Timing matters. Set your financials, secure your assets, and then present everything calmly. Calm is the only way I operate." Good. People regret loud moves. They don't regret clear ones. I left his office with a list. I moved my direct deposit to a separate account, split the utilities so nothing critical could be shut off, and changed the code on the shop. I moved into the guest room without explanation. When Emily raised an eyebrow at dinner, I said, "I've got an early stretch with the crew. This is easier." Is this punishment? Her tone had a bite. No, it's planning. For what? For what's already happening. I didn't elaborate. She wanted to fight shadows. I only fight things I can touch. She tried a new tactic that week. Mid-turn. That's what I call it when someone realizes a door is closing and suddenly reaches for a plate of cookies. She came home at 6 one night and heated leftover chili. She brought it to me in the garage where I was sorting drill bits. "I made dinner," she said, holding the bowl like a peace treaty. "I can see that." I took the bowl. "Thanks." She lingered. "I'm sorry if I've been distant. Work's been heavy. Your phone's been heavier." She smiled like I was joking. "Can we reset? This weekend? I'll block off Sunday." "Why Sunday?" "Because I'm asking." "I'll be at my buddy Nate's place Sunday morning," I told her. "We're finishing a deck. I won't cancel on him." She tilted her head. "He can survive without you for one day. I don't cancel on people who rely on me." "You're always so rigid," she said, soft smile, soft voice. "Call it consistent. People seem to like it until it stops working for them." The chili tasted fine. I finished it, washed the bowl, and went back to my list. She stood in the doorway like a silhouette trying to look like a person. I let the silence do the talking. She drifted back inside. By Saturday, she slid into full charm. She reached for my hand in the hardware store. She laughed at jokes I didn't make. She put on my old college sweatshirt like a billboard for Remember Us. I didn't swat it away. I also didn't buy the message. A man can appreciate a warm shirt and still know he's standing in hail. Sunday morning, I went to Nate's. He's a straightforward guy, a mechanic who says what he means. We cut boards and set joists and worked without music because the neighbor was studying for a test. Around noon, Emily called. "Where are you?" she asked. "At Nate's," I answered, sliding a plank. "Told you that." "We had plans." "You made plans." I informed you of mine. So my time doesn't matter? Your calendar doesn't control mine, I said, quiet but firm. You want time? Ask. Don't announce. Nate raised an eyebrow, then looked away. He doesn't pry. That's why he's my friend. Can you come back now? She asked. No. We're halfway through laying boards. I finish what I start. She hung up with the sigh people use to tell you failed a test they never announced. Nate passed me a pencil. She treating you right? He asked, finally. She's treating me like a volunteer, I said. I'm not one. I drove home with sawdust still on my forearms and found Jenna's car in our driveway. She was at the kitchen island, scrolling her phone. Hey, she said, eyes small. Emily's not here. I noticed. Jenna twisted her phone. She told me you two were fighting. We're not, I said. We're negotiating what respect looks like. That's a lot of syllables, Jenna muttered. You okay? I'm doing what I need to do. She nodded, but her face didn't relax. She didn't stay long. Emily came in late, cheeks flushed, eyes bright like she'd just won something. How's the deck? She asked, too casual. Solid. Good for you. She poured herself a glass of wine, took a sip, and then set it down untouched. She watched me like I might say a magic phrase that would restore the old house. I didn't. I'm not a magician and I don't do tricks. That week, the investigator called again. He had more, and none of it made the prior pages look better. I set a date with my lawyer. We pulled together papers. I scheduled a meeting at the bank. Quiet, methodical, boring to anyone who thinks drama is a sign of life. I like boring when the stakes are high. On Thursday, I drove by Emily's office at lunch and saw her walk out in the same blazer, same scan of the sidewalk. This time she didn't get a cab. She walked 2 blocks to a little coffee place. Kyle was already inside. They sat in a corner, heads close enough to share a breath. She put her hand on his wrist. He turned his in a way that said this contact had a history. I didn't go in. I texted my lawyer instead. Monday works. That night, I got home early. I took the folder out and set it on the dining table. Not to wave it in her face. To remind myself of the truth when she tried to paint over it. At 9:30, my doorbell rang. Emily has a key. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and opened the door. Jenna stood there. No lipstick. Hair up. Calm in a way that wasn't her usual. She stepped inside without my invitation and shut the door carefully behind her. Emily's out, she said, voice level. With Kyle. There was a pause big enough to fit every lie ever told. I figured, I said. She swallowed. How much do you know? Enough to be done. Jenna's eyes closed for a second. I had suspicions. Thought I was being crazy. Then I wasn't. She looked down at her phone. I can show you, but I'm guessing you don't need it. I've got a folder on the table, I told her. She looked at it like it was a snake. I can't look at that. You don't have to. She let out a breath like she'd been holding it for a month. Then she said the thing I didn't see coming. We have 2 options right now. Drive to that restaurant, make a scene, ruin our own dignity, give them a story, or sit here like civilized people and talk about next steps. I pulled out a chair. Option 2. Every time. She Saturday good. Because I don't want to be the person who screams in parking lots. She glanced toward the hallway. They think they own the script. They don't. I don't know what happens to my marriage, Jenna said, voice tight. I know what should happen. That's different than being ready. I'm not here to tell you what to do, I said. I'm here to handle mine. We talked for 3 hours. Not the kind of talk you have when you're looking for excuses. The practical run-through. Her lease, my accounts. Who knows what? Who needs to know when? There was no flirting, no candlelight, no nonsense. Just 2 adults in a kitchen figuring out how to stop being the last to get the memo. At 1:30, the front door opened. Emily walked in and froze when she saw us at the table. Her face went through 3 expressions in a second: shock, confusion, offense, and landed on righteous. What is this? She asked. What are you doing here, Jenna? Jenna didn't blink. What do you think? Emily's eyes flashed at me. So you two are. No, I cut her off. We're doing the one thing you avoided. We're telling the truth. Emily looked at the folder, then at my hands resting on it. What is that? Documentation, I said. Of what? Of you, I said, calm as the lake at dawn. And Kyle. She laughed, that brittle kind that people use when the floor tilts. You're insane. Open it, Jenna told her. If you're going to act, at least read your lines. Emily yanked the folder open. Photo. Date. Receipt. Repeat. The war between anger and fear is quiet when it's losing. This isn't what it looks like, she tried. I leaned back. That line is older than our dishwasher. You stalked me. She jabbed a finger at the photos. You're controlling. No, I answered. I'm accurate. Jenna pointed at a page. That was my birthday. Emily shut the folder. You don't understand. You both. Stop, I said. We're done with fog. Here's how this will go. Tomorrow morning, you will meet me at the bank at 9. We will sign the papers my lawyer prepared. You will take what's fair. You will leave this house this week. And you will not contact me unless it's about logistics. That's the plan. It's not up for debate. You don't get to decide that, she snapped. I just did. She looked at Jenna like there might be sympathy there. Jenna's face could have been a wall. Say something, Emily told her. He's being. I'm listening, Jenna cut in. You know, like I did when you said you were working last Friday night and I was home alone. Emily's jaw set. Oh, now you care. Jenna stood, shocking me. I care enough to tell you I'm done covering for you. Done with your rules that somehow exempt you. Emily turned back to me, hands shaking now. You can't just blow up a life like this. I didn't blow it up, I told her. I'm cleaning up after someone who did. Maybe we can fix it, she blurted, too fast. We can go to. No, you won't even. No, I repeated. I won't drag this through some long theater where the ending's already written. That's cruel. It's precise. She looked at Jenna again, then back at me. You're throwing us away for a few photos? I'm ending it because respect left the building. The photos just kept the math honest. Silence. The clock on the oven clicked over. That was the only sound in the room. I won't sign, she said finally. You will, I said. Because the bank manager will be there, and my lawyer will be on call, and you don't want this story told to anyone who asks why I changed the locks. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I slid a pen across the table. She stared at it long enough for me to think she'd throw it. Instead, she picked it up and scrawled her name where mine wasn't. Pack what's yours, I said. I'll have boxes by the door. She shot me a look that used to make me step closer and now only made me step out of the way. She walked down the hall and shut the bedroom door too hard. Jenna didn't move. I poured her a glass of water, set it in front of her, and we sat without filling the space with dumb words. Monday, 9 a.m., we signed in a quiet room with a window that looked at a parking lot. No spectacle, no speeches, just pens and paper. Emily's hand shook once. I didn't comment. The manager passed us copies. Emily left without looking back, which used to be my job. That afternoon, she tried the second softening. It always happens after a boundary hits steel. She came by with a bag of groceries and said, I made your favorite stew. I thought we could talk. Leave it on the porch, I said through the door. And no, we already talked. Now we implement. She sniffed. So that's it. Years together, and you're a robot. I'm a man who meant his vows. When you stopped, I didn't. You think you're better. No, I think I'm finished. She put the bag down harder than necessary and walked away. I waited until her car drove off, then took the groceries in and gave half to my neighbor who has 2 kids and a budget. I kept the onions. Food is food. Drama is not. 2 days later, Emily tried a different tactic, public. She knew I had a weekly lunch with my crew at a diner near the job site. She showed up mid-burger, slid into the booth next to me like she'd been invited, and smiled at the guys. Hey, fellas, she chirped. Mind if I steal him for a second? My guys went quiet. They're good men, but they don't sign up for soap operas. I wiped my hands, faced her, and said, if you want to talk, do it here. Her smile stretched. In front of them? In front of whoever's around, I said. Sunlight's our friend. She leaned close. We should keep private matters private. You made public choices, I replied level. Now I make public boundaries. Keep it short. She tried to whisper. I didn't mean to hurt you. And yet, we can rebuild. I'm building other things now. I took out my wallet and pulled 2 house keys free. I set them on the table. Your copies. You don't need them. She stared at the keys, then up at me. You're really doing this. I already did, I said. If you stop by the house again without notice, I'll consider it trespassing. I won't call the police. I'll call Jenna. Her jaw tightened. You're cruel. You keep confusing firm with cruel, I said. Ask a level. She stood, gave the crew a bright, trapped smile, and walked out. Nate whistled once under his breath. You good? He asked. I'm better than good, I said. I'm in control of my side. About time. He pushed the ketchup toward me. Eat. You look like a man who needs protein. The next week was logistics. Boxes. Labels. Locks changed. A short email to both families that said, we're separating. Please respect privacy. No gossip. I didn't tell anyone why. Not my job. The truth has a way of jogging without a coach. Emily texted me twice with long paragraphs that looked like they were written by committee. I didn't respond. Then she sent one line. I'm scared. I stared at it for a minute, then typed back. You should be scared of your choices. Not of me. She didn't reply. Jenna stopped by one evening with a paper bag holding 2 breakfast burritos and a note that said, in case you forget to feed yourself. We ate at the counter like weary soldiers who didn't join the war but refused to run. You sure you're okay? She asked. I'm not broken, I said. I'm irritated I let it go on as long as I did. That's on me. She shook her head. You didn't let it go on. You watched. Then you acted. That's rare. Flattery makes me itchy, I told her. Not flattery, she said. Observation. Kyle moved out of their house the following weekend. I know that because I saw his truck with boxes piled high. He didn't look at me. I didn't wave. He nodded at the pavement like it owed him money and kept moving. I won't give you the speech he tried to text me later. I blocked the number. Not out of anger. Out of hygiene. A few days after that, I drove to Jenna's place to fix a leaky faucet. That kitchen had hosted 100 loud family dinners. Now it held quiet and a humming fridge. As I tightened the valve, Jenna leaned against the doorway and asked, What do you want now, Mark? Peace, I said, turning the wrench. Work that matters. Coffee that isn't microwaved. A woman who's aligned with me, not just next to me. And Emily? She's a chapter that ends where it should. I wiped the counter. She'll spin it. People always do. Jenna handed me a towel. I'm selling the house. Good. You're very certain. Indecision is a decision. It just doesn't send an email. We stood there a minute. The house groaned like houses do when they settle. She cleared her throat. I'm not asking for anything, she said. I'm stating a fact. You deserve better than being managed. So do you. She gave me a half smile that looked real for the first time in weeks. How about breakfast on Saturday? There's a diner on Maple that burns toast in a charming way. Sounds like my kind of place. Saturday morning, I met her there. No drama. Eggs, coffee, talk about boring adult things like refinancing and moving trucks and whether we'd keep the holiday box that used to sit in our parents' basement. Nobody stared. Nobody whispered. We weren't building a movie. We were assembling 2 lives from a pile of usable boards. 2 months later, my life looked like I built it. I moved into a Craftsman on a quiet street with a small yard I actually mow. I put a heavy bag in the garage and a workbench that would make my crew jealous. I got rid of half my stuff and bought a used pickup that doesn't smell like paint thinner. I sleep well. I don't check a phone that isn't mine. The shop is booked out 6 weeks. I hired another guy and gave my foreman a raise. We take on projects I actually want. Emily moved to a smaller place downtown. I know because someone mentioned seeing her at a farmer's market with a face that learned new patterns the hard way. Word is, Kyle's out of the picture and into a new mess. Not my story. I don't run footnotes for people who used me as scenery. Jenna and I, we didn't jump into anything. We showed up. We went to softball games with her niece, painted her living room, ate sandwiches on the back steps like teenagers who had to be home by dark. A month ago, she asked if I was ready to call what we were doing dating. I said I don't love labels, but I like this. She laughed and called me a stubborn man with a soft center. I told her to watch her language. We booked a trip to the coast for fall. No secrets. No folders. People ask me sometimes if I regret not fighting harder to save my marriage. I tell them I fought for it the only way that mattered, by having standards. It isn't about shouting in restaurants or sleeping on the couch to prove you're suffering. It's about drawing a clean line and standing on your side of it without apology. When the person on the other side decides the line is negotiable, you either move it until you're in a corner or you keep it where it belongs and walk toward the door. That night in the kitchen, when Emily walked in and saw me with Jenna, she expected me to panic or plead or explode. That was her script. I rewrote it. Calm, clear, with a pen and a plan. The end wasn't fireworks. It was a solid door clicking shut. On my way out of the house the day she picked up her last box, She stood on the porch and said, "You'll miss me." I paused on the step and adjusted the strap on the duffel over my shoulder. "I'll miss the man I thought I was when you smiled at me," I said. "But I like the man I am now more." She didn't have a response to that. There wasn't one. She turned, walked to her car, and drove away. The porch light flicked on automatically as the sun dropped. I locked the door behind me and drove to my new life. No rearview speeches. No unraveling. Respect is a simple thing. You either live by it, or you watch it leave and pretend it will come back if you make enough noise. I don't do noise. I do clean job sites, finished edges, and doors that close when they're supposed to. And I keep the keys to my own house. Always.